Hello, Scott. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. How are you?
Hi, Perry. I'm good. We were talking about a lot of things. Let's start with what we were doing. You were having an experience of being in a tomb that looks in a body like you look and walking around gloom and dark. And I suggested that when you have an experience like that, don't dwell on it. In other words, if it's dark and you're in a dungeon and the doors are locked, put a pyramid in there. You just do it right when you're right here, right on Earth, because it's an experience that was captivating your attention and keeping you focused in a negative way, making you kind of bummed out about it, worried about it. That's all negative. There's nothing you can ever get from that that's positive. So probably a past life experience. But if it's negative, stick a pyramid in it, turn it on, you see the fountain in it, the new ray, it's white light with a golden essence. Blow the walls off the thing, the roof, the dirt right off the tomb, open it to the sun, stand there above it, floating in the air, and give it a big hue. Sayonara, see ya, and never go back. It'll take that, whatever that is, and change it. And you'll never have to go back to that experience again. Because it's in the past and you really don't need to want to stay there. Because you're here now. And you're having wonderful experiences and expanding and waking up when you couldn't in that past life in the tomb. That's the past. Leave it alone. You don't have to go back there. That's something we can do that I would recommend for people. If they've been following your show or watching any of this, then they can go into a contemplation, which is a very active use of the imagination, to see into the multidimensional universe. And it isn't the brain or mind that sees into the multidimensional universe. It's the spherical energy of the Atma, the being running a brain and body and mind. That is not a brain, body, and mind that sees into the multidimensional universe, not the brain. It's very important for people to understand this when they first hear it, probably the first time they will have ever heard it on this planet from me, because I'm bringing this awareness, this knowing certainty to this planet. A planet full of people who don't remember who they are or what to go do with it. Most people here just live in fear of the future. Presidents, classified people, royal families, they're all in fear of the future. Every one of them. And they're making decisions for the whole planet based on fear, and that's always destructive. So, because we aren't alone in the universe and there are vast numbers of beings influencing things here now, those beings have kept this planet and the people on it from blowing themselves to hell. Because they tried like the devil to blow this place up. Intentionally, and they never were able to succeed. That's a good thing. It means we're not alone in the universe, because if we were, everybody would be dead on this planet right now. Dead and gone, no life at all. Radioactive. That's not going to happen. I don't care who on this planet makes such silly predictions, because they don't come true, do they? No. And if we weren't being worked with in a positive way from beings from outside this planet, the people on this planet, in a misdirected subconscious drive of terror, would have ruined this world already. So you see, I don't fear the future. I carry no fear of the future in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Anybody that does is draining themselves and their creative potential into this planet and remaining fixated here like they're a body with no memory, because that's negative. That's what it does. So you need to drop that, see?
Yeah. Scott, but the thing is, when people now start to realize that they are here because they caught up by tyrants, okay, and so now they get upset, are mad at tyrants because why did they do that to us like this? So what should?
Well, but when they do that, aren't they using their imagination in an ignorant way, in an unconscious way, to put negativity out towards whoever they think those tyrants were? And now they're connecting to that negative stream with them. Tyrants want people to be angry and afraid and upset and revengeful and hatred. They want to keep them in a way that they can be controlled. There is no way to fight the good fight and have revenge towards bad guys and not be in that bad energy, because it just creates the circumstances. It's the law, one of the primary laws of physics. Every action, every thought and feeling creates an equal but opposite reaction in space-time. What you imagine, fear of the future or wonder, both go out into this field of energy that people don't know about yet that supports the whole creation. It's a co-creator with us. And it will fulfill both things you imagine and bring both into your life. The good and the bad, the ups and the downs. That is not normal. People on earth think that's normal, being a normal human being. And I can tell you that it is not normal.
Scott, and how can we have good imagination like 24/7 or in a good positive energy the whole
Only
time?
one way: you have to discipline and control your own being to only choose to imagine correctly, or you're in trouble. For instance, if you're brought up on a planet like this, I can tell you all the classified government people and classified military industrial complex and royal families all were brought up with none of this training on this planet whatsoever. They didn't get brought up knowing what they are as an atma that isn't a body running a brain. They brought up believing that they're a body with a brain and their imaginations in their skull between their ears. It's just as wrong as it can get, because that keeps people from knowing they're not their body at all. They get stuck in an illusion. The illusion that most people are in on this planet think that life is normal if you don't know anything and you trust in some God or supreme being to tell you the truth when you die. That is the training and misdirection of tyrants to control people, period. The sooner people come to grips with this, the better off they'll know and recover and awaken to the fact that they are meant to be co-creators with that living essence people call divine spirit, but they don't know what it is. Really, they don't. The dark matter in space that people see when they see this big Hubble telescope and there's billions of galaxies floating out, there's all these beautiful colors, and everything looks black between it because physical eyes of human beings can only see a small spectrum of light. And it appears black when they can't see into the higher frequencies. But in actuality, that dark matter that scientists on Earth today know is not only not a void, vacant, it's full of vibrant energy. They call it dark matter because to them it's dark. But in reality, to the being hovering above the body looking at it, it's bright white light between all those galaxies out there in space. All the galaxies and planets and stars that you see in one of those Hubble telescope images are tiny little specks in an energy that is vastly larger than all the stuff in it. That is the hue. The ray, the new expansion ray in the hue, is a golden kind of a light running through the white field of energy. And it is designed to retire the old experiment of evil in the lower dimensions. It's designed to encourage beings when they recover enough to create intentionally a free will, awakened free will, how to use the imagination, which is not done in the brain, but from the spherical energy that we are, like a planet or a moon or a sun. It is energy, but it's not matter. It's not made of matter. It's not electrons and protons and neutrons and atoms and DNA or RNA or genomes on the DNA. It's not any of that. It's an energy behind it all that is not positive and negative, that supports all of it. And we're meant to co-create with that energy because that energy comes from the source, way above the void. And so do each one of us. The being running the body, not the body. Normal human beings on other worlds and other planes understand this. They grow up knowing it. It isn't theory. It's not about debate. They don't question it. They know. They don't have doubt and fear about it. They know. A normal human being is meant to know things with certainty. No fear, no doubt, no speculation, no debate, no theory. No fear, no anger, no revenge, no hatred. All those are negative, every one of them. Debate is argumentative. It's conflict. Nothing good comes of it, ever. Fear is an apprehension about the future, which is a kind of sending your imagination unwittingly, unknowingly, into the future and creating your own destruction. You go out and tell this omnipresent force to create your own destruction through your fear, and it does it. This supreme source supports everything. We are meant to learn how to only work with it in kind, wondrous, uplifting ways. Only that. Otherwise, we're creating the evil we all don't like and then blaming it on someone else. As beings, we're responsible for the experiment of evil. Not just on Earth, in any realm. And as beings, we're responsible collectively with vast numbers of beings that do not have subconscious minds like people on Earth and don't live in fear to change that. We have to do that collectively. Us, each of us, you and I, and what people call the prime creator or source. People on Earth mistakenly call it the supreme being, like it's some kind of king, ruler, tyrant. It isn't. The real source that supports all life, not the few powerful tyrants that run different dimensions that got on ego trips and demanded worship and gave little in return to their followers and compelled them to reincarnate on this or other worlds with no memory. That is the thing that is our challenge, to go beyond that, to stop doing that. Stop putting other people on pedestals to be worshipped. The source itself never required, requested, or ever encouraged any one of us to worship it. That was all created by tyrants. And everybody on Earth, some down deep inside themselves, know this. They're praying to these things they can't see and getting nothing out of it, really. If a person's blind and some miracle happens and they're healed and they can see, they're still going to get run over by a car or killed later in life. Their lives are going to be short no matter what miracle happens to them. And they don't stop to realize this. They're thinking in terms of liberation as a liberation of the physical body. This is not it. It's the liberation of the being running the body that we're talking about here and what we're exploring. We don't do this in words. We do it by example, by going on the journey into direct experience. There's no other way to wake anybody up that I know of. They have to have their own direct experience. So that's why we do these radio shows. Sure, you'll bring up the bit about my books, which are designed as interdimensional doorways because people can buy them. At least they can get the information that's an interdimensional doorway and start experiencing it and understanding what this works about. It's for their benefit. If I didn't publish those books through online retailers like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Ingram Spark that distributes to bookstores, nobody would be able to get them. And I wouldn't be able to get it to them.
Can I say I have come this far and have that much of experience because of your book, Scott? Thank you.
Well, we should actually do this right up front because radio shows are not shows, at least what we do. For my part with you, this has nothing to do with anybody else you interview. This is quite separate. My work is not affiliated or associated with any other person on this planet. It is not affiliated with UFO researchers or disclosure people or anybody else people have heard about. I don't work with those people. I don't follow those people. I don't have any time to do that and do the work I came to this planet to do. I want to make that abundantly clear. Mm-hmm. I don't throw stones at other people or say badmouth other people. They can do that for themselves. They often do it to me without even knowing anything about me or my work, out of jealousy or fear or anger or whatever it is they're carrying. My work is not about throwing stones at any of them. It's about sending out the hue for their well-being no matter what they do. It's a shield. There's just no negativity that can come through it. That's why I don't have my internet interrupted by the hidden government and men in black. You have to ask yourself why that is. There's a reason. The series agenda. This on the cover is the planet Saturn in our solar system. Those are big chunks of ice because the rings of Saturn are made of water, frozen. This is a mile-long Emerald Star cruiser from the Galactic Interdimensional Lines of Free Worlds. This ship, cylindrical with a bridge control room here and one identical on the other end that you can't see. And these scout craft come from a planetary system near the core of our Milky Way galaxy, and they fly throughout this galaxy. They're designed to be able to move through interdimensional doorways from either end. That's why they're cylindrical. That's why there's a control room on each end. There are no launch bay doors. There's no open launch bay for the scout craft to come in and out. They change their molecular time rate, the electromagnetic field they create around the craft, to a higher frequency than the metal that makes up the mothership, and they can pass right through it. Then lower their vibration to being solid again. They land in a launch bay inside the ship without ever opening a door. There are no seams on the outside of that craft. There are no seams on the outside of these craft. No seam. When the door is to be opened and it's landed, the molecules in a place that makes the outline of a door are separated and a door appears. When it's sealed, there's no seam, because of the way the electromagnetic fields work around it. You don't want rivets and seams. I won't get into the technical reasons for that, but it's very important. Some of these ships here are literally grown from a crystal program as a solid, complete ship. Technology not understood on Earth. In the back of this book, there is a special technique section when you go through what happens to Mark Sanfield and Janice Carter in this book. Unconscious people on Earth who suspect they're being lied to, who find out who they are, that they aren't from Earth, and how they got stuffed in bodies here against their will, and how they get liberated from that. This is about what extraterrestrials beyond Earth are doing, what consciousness changes they've gone through to actually want to care about altering the destructive destiny of this planet, which they're now doing for the first time. And you'll find in the back of this book a special techniques section, which looks like this. Back on page 290, and you're going to find back in here a technique for the prologue and all 29 chapters. 30 techniques for each chapter that reveals certain amount of hidden truth. And people can use those techniques when they have dreams at night, they remember, when they go out of their body and explore that technique for that chapter, where they find their experience most similar to what's revealed in the chapter and help them remember. That's how this is designed. The Emerald Doorway book.
Scott, you take us to Saturn too, so we can all have experience from that eye.
Yeah, we're going to go there tonight on the radio show. Okay. We're going to go to this ship. But that's not all. The Emerald Doorway is book one of the Parallel Time Trilogy. This is a city of light in the fifth dimension, just past the void, known to certain Buddhists and certain esoteric sects on planet. This is in a reality far above the void. This is really what we call the ancient one in this book, or prime creator, or the source. And it looks spherical and has a white core. Different layers of spectrum of light, teardrop shapes that you see in each layer are individual higher faculties of each Atma or soul. This is who we are. This is the image we're made in, or this is how we exist in likeness to the source itself. Because not shown in the book, above each of their heads is one of these. This is a representation or an appearance of the prime creator that this master teacher is introducing to Etta, Calum, and Melina, hovering on antigravitic disks above new land after the poles flipped 100,000 years ago and destroyed Lemuria and its colony continent of Atlantis, all but a volcanic island. That was 100,000 years ago on this planet. There's Calum's scout ship right there. This little guy is a creature called a Dren. He's silica-based. He is not carbon-based like us, and his culture, his race, developed the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air as an organic creature. He has a photographic memory. This little guy is telepathic. He loves his family, his wife, and kids more than people on Earth understand. I don't want to be rude, but it's true. I've met Etta. Etta is a good friend of mine. He's also a master teacher, and he isn't even human. People on Earth have a lot of growing up to do.
Scott, is very interesting.
People on Earth have a lot of growing up to do before they can embrace being part of the grand multidimensional universe and playing among the stars. They can't go out there and play with people the way they are now because they're bent, unconscious. They don't remember who they are. They're going to take their fear and terror out into space and throw it on innocent people. It's never going to happen. People out, space is already occupied by more advanced races, and they're never going to tolerate us going out there this way. So Earth is in for some big changes. This is very practical, and I state it with confidence in a practical way for anyone who has the courage to explore these little shows we do. I want to show you what Etta looks like. He's quite cute, very endearing creature, and funny, courageous to a point. He's hilarious to watch. And he isn't even human.
Scott, in your book, this book is very interesting. What I want to say is you were talking about the pole shift, right? How was it at that time? And also about the Maldek, right?
That's it. Yeah. You see his little snout? And he's got these big bulbous blue eyes. I can't see if it's in focus or not. There we go. Yeah.
Focus.
Kind of because the book moves and the camera can't quite capture it. And he can walk all in fours. If you look, he's got little dexterous hands and feet like a human. His tail, from the root to the tip, grows like crystal opal in bright sunlight, very colorful. And he's able to levitate and fly through the air. He has an extra set of eyelids that close down over his outer eyes and diaphragms in his nose. Guy can go about 250 miles to 300 miles an hour through the air with no wings. He's an anti-gravitic being. He's not from Earth. There are many human and humanoid races out in the stars, but they're not all human that are kind and wonderful. People on Earth have a lot of growing up to do to be able to play with them, to learn from them, and to share wonderful things with them too. These journeys we go on are to help people begin to be prepared for this. That's why I do it. That's the only reason I do it. That's my only motivation. Okay. You can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, probably anywhere on Earth. Amazon in France or Germany, anywhere. In Thailand, as you know, you can order these books right through a bookstore because Ingram Spark is a distributor of 70% of the world's publishers to bookstores. So if you can't get it online and there's no Amazon in Thailand, you can get it just ordered right through a bookstore and it'll come to you. So there's a way for people in Thailand, as you know, to get those books.
Scott, I would like to say that because in this book, you explain very well the time when the pole shift 100,000 years ago, and the planet Maldek or Marduk, when it's exploded, and we have a photon belt now because of this. It's very, very interesting.
That's not a photon belt. It's an asteroid field in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter that circles in the orbit of a planet around the sun, just like a planet that was blown apart from the core outward long ago in solar system history. Got rid of the atmosphere of Mars, ruined that planet, and tilted Earth so it moves on its poles like this, makes it vulnerable to being flipped over. One of the fortunate things that I reveal on these shows for the benefit of others, because I know and was involved with beings who ended the polar shifts for this planet permanently. No more Iron Age to Golden Age back again for this planet. That's ended. The whole past prophesied destructive destiny for this planet that people are lauding and promoting out in the internet out of their own fear and misdirection is not going to happen. No Planet X Nibiru coming by to waste everybody. That's already a done deal. People on Earth do not yet know this. They're going to find it out. You're not going to have a nuclear war here or Planet Nibiru coming by and wiping everybody out. That's all been permanently changed from outside Earth. The sooner people become aware of this, the sooner they can drop fear of the future and start waking up. Because you cannot wake up your higher faculties with negative emotions and imagination. It won't work. Ever. The hue, which is the first half of the word human, hue, which is what beings were given, actually the Atma, to sound and connect with that omnipresent field of energy directly, telepathically, is hidden in plain sight on this planet. Human, hue woman. Oh, what's that mean? Oh, I don't know. People just hear it as a word. They don't think it through. They don't understand that they once knew how to work with it, how to be free in the universe and travel out of their bodies or on a spaceship, and both is preferable. Because it not
recommend, highly recommend.
So anyway, I have actually 4 websites, and as you know, when you put these up, you list them on your. I type them in and you list them on the show. People will find a wealth of enlightening information they won't find anywhere else just by going to those websites. There's nothing sold at any of them. There are links at them that go right to Barnes & Noble or Amazon or something if they want the book, and they can sell them, you know, and ship them a book. Too complex for me to do that and get my work done here. So it make it easy for people to find those books, and when they click on the links I provide, they go right to the proper sales page for that book at that company, like Amazon. That's what they do. But if people are tricked into going to a second-party bookseller, someone says, I sell it cheaper, they're going to be disappointed because they may get an older version of the book and not the one that I publish. Some bookstore somewhere has it on a shelf and wants to get rid of it. Don't be fooled. If you want the latest version of this work and get the best benefit, get the original version from the authorized sale partner like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Ingram Spark, or iTunes, or whatever, because they have the latest version. If you get it from a third party, too bad. I don't think you'll be happy. So don't be fooled. The little price people pay for these books, the wealth that it delivers in real experience and how to go about it. You can't pay enough money on this planet to get that, and no one else can deliver it anyway. People need awakening direct experience about hidden truth. Hearing about it on the internet, hearing data from other people predicting this or that will not change a person at all. It keeps them in fear of the future and in doubt, because the people that are putting it out are in doubt and fear of the future, and it's confusing and misdirecting for people. I don't blame the people that are doing it. They don't even realize they're doing it most of the time. But if they think about it, they'll realize they're kind of divided and conquered. They start out meaning well to get this great information about extraterrestrials out to people and disclosure. And then they get caught up in the world of money and fame and fortune and fight each other over followers and sales, and they won't work with each other. That's why I don't waste my time trying to work with any of them. I have my own mission to this planet to accomplish, and it cannot be mixed up with anyone else because it was brought here from off this planet to this world. I'm not from around here. Now, everybody on this planet doesn't yet know this, but they aren't from around here either. Not originally. I've said this before, but I don't think it quite registers with a lot of people until they awaken the experience for themselves, the understanding of it. No human being in this form ever evolved on this planet in the first place. We did not come from Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal, this extinct humanoid species on this planet. We did not evolve from them. They are dead and gone species. They did not change into us to disappear. They went extinct as physical forms, and they weren't very highly developed. We didn't come from cavemen. There was a time when beings, Atmas running bodies, were imprisoned here, dumbed down to the level of a caveman, but they didn't start out that way. Human beings in this form, or the Atma that runs this higher form of genetic body, that should be running with all the genomes on the DNA turned on, and they're not in people on Earth. Some of them are shut down. And that is hard for people to remember because of that. Human beings in this form evolved out in the galaxy several billions of years ago on other worlds and other galaxies. Human, not on this planet Earth. They were all brought here at one time or another, stretching all the way back to 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs were made deliberately extinct, gotten rid of. They were so big and ponderous, they were eating themselves to death anyway. That was an experiment that came to an end because it just wasn't anything constructive you could do with it. They would have killed each other off and just destroyed themselves through their monstrous size. They would have eaten all the fauna and plant life on the planet until there was nothing left. So they were gotten rid of, the body forms. And then humans were brought here, and the colonies were formed here from other worlds, usually under treaty with some mostly nice worlds and a few tyrant worlds, and Earth got caught in the middle of all that. So people on Earth do not remember their own history. You will not find history accurately delivered on this planet from institutions that teach people growing up here, because the teachers don't know it. They've just got books and history as much as they can go back. Well, it's 10,000 years maybe, or maybe they go back 30,000 years and they've got little scraps of writing and some hieroglyphics and stuff like that. None of the languages that exist on this planet developed here either. None of the races like Asian or Caucasian or African American or Hispanic or Eskimo or Aborigine or South American, Native Americans, none of them evolved on this planet. They represent distinct cultures of humans in whole world systems out in our galaxy, and some from other galaxies. And they all ended up on Earth, thrown together unconscious in a big hodgepodge of different religious and beliefs and about how they want to worship what they think is a supreme being that demands worship. I'll tell you who demands worship. Tyrant priests. To make money, demand worship, that you worship something you can never meet. They tell you you're not smart enough, or wait till you die. This is not accurate. I can't blame them. They've been misdirected themselves, usually by tyrant kings in our history who would threaten their lives if they didn't obey what the king said to do, to keep people corralled and kind of dumbed down, especially about what they are that can leave their body. Kings don't want people knowing that. Now, this is the truth of the history of this planet. Real spirituality, as people call it on Earth, needs to be discovered by expanding the consciousness out into the universe, or you're never going to find out very much. So that's what these journeys we go on are for, to provide a little direct experience, a little coaching, someone that can take them on a journey, get their bodies in the trance state called sleep. They put it in every night, except the being is going to remain conscious while the body goes to sleep and move on in this journey. This is how we do it. I know it seems alien to people on Earth because they never grew up learning any of this. The gurus on the planet mostly don't even teach people about this. Some of them don't even know. You're not going to hear it from the world's religions. You're not going to hear it from royal families. You're not going to hear it from politicians. When I say that I do not work with fear or doubt or debate or theory, fear of the future, speculation, I don't. They are a complete and total waste of time. They are all backed by fear and terror of the future. They're negative emotional states. They keep people in opposites within themselves and with each other. And then they're easy to control. on this planet because it keeps people from being able to unite together to change their circumstances. It's negative. Only that. There's nothing constructive good that can come from any of those things that will change a planet. Theory is belief. Like belief in a supreme being that you don't experience and you think you can't understand. Mistake number one. The Atma that is spherical, that isn't the body, can't understand and comprehend the source behind all life because it's made of exactly the same energy. Identical. Like a drop of water, pure water, in a mighty ocean of that same substance. And each drop's an individual. You cannot be different than the source energy itself. But you can be manipulated to forget all about it, which is what people on Earth have been made to go through. And it's not fun what they were put through before they found themselves in a body on this earth with no memory. Looking up the stars and saying, what am I doing here? Who am I? Am I a body? They don't remember. Okay, well, let's go on a journey and see if we can't begin to reverse some of that. What I would do is ask people, no, that's not whiskey, it's iced tea. Just for the record, I don't smoke anything. I do not take any kind of drugs of any kind. I don't eat animals or fish or seafood of any kind because I don't require any of that. And I myself would not kill any of those things to eat them. I do not do that. I'm not telling people they need to do that because when the time comes and they expand in consciousness enough, it'll drop away from them like a lead brick. Fear of dying from not eating animals. Fear of anything is what kills a person if they try to fast. Their own fear, their own mental state, their own emotional conflict creates and short circuits their body. So that needs to go first before people make big leaps and changes to their habits. They need to have experience and know why they want to drop it. So I don't tell anybody they have to do what I'm doing this way in order to be benefited by this work, because it will catch up with them anyway, sooner or later. So I don't smoke cigarettes. I do not smoke pot or take any psychotropic drugs because that is a trap. I don't care if it's legal. It ties people in a lower astral plane emotional energy that goes nowhere. It does not take people where they think it's going to take them. And smoking it is more harmful than cigarettes because there's a lot of burnt tars and ash from weed that gets in their lungs, and it's silly. I don't know of any extraterrestrial race that's kind that would ever land and pick up someone high on anything, ever, period. If people want a spaceship ride, they're not going to get it that way unless they want one with some really bad guys. So I'll make that clear right on this show. I don't have time to fool around with people's silly addictions to anything. They're not going to learn how to leave their body getting high. It'll still ground them in the physical form, even if they see through an open doorway into another dimension. Temporarily. The body works like hell to get rid of vitamin C and B, to get whatever substance they're taking out of their system, which is why they come down, or they wouldn't. So this is important that people understand the truth. I don't care if they agree with me, and I don't care. I'm not going to tell them what to do with their lives or to stop doing any of it. If they really want to advance and recover who they are, they will put it away because it won't get them there, ever. It's not designed to. So I'll leave that alone. We'll go on a journey. Here's what we do. Every night, all of you put your body in the trance state called sleep. You don't call it that. You didn't grow up learning about it any differently than that. But in reality, you're all like masters who've forgotten that you're masters. Everybody on this planet can put their body to sleep at night or when they're tired. It's a complex process. The body and the brain do not put themselves to sleep. What did he just say? The being who's running that body, who most people on earth have long forgotten, creates a condition in the pineal gland in the center of the brain to cause it to secrete serotonin. It makes melatonin. These chemicals, these substances, make it so the body will go in the trance state. Basically, the brain is off, other than running the blood and the heart pumping and the lungs working, while the being, you, goes out on journeys every night, usually not bringing back any awareness of where you've been in the morning because you were never trained to do it growing up. So, you're not going to know it unless someone comes along and says, hey, do you know you're supposed to be able to remember where you go and what you do when you come back in the morning and wake that body up? And they go, what are you talking about? It's like the story of a being walking down a desert pathway, a nice guy in a maroon robe. It's kind of like a master teacher. And he sees this guy, Bob, sitting over on a rock, kind of with his head on his hand, like the thinker, like a statue. And he goes up and he says, hey, Bob, what are you doing? He said, he knew him millions of years ago, see. And Bob says, well, Bill, I'm a rock. Can't you see that? He says, what do you mean you're a rock? You're sitting on one, but you're not a rock. What do you mean I'm not a rock? Well, come here. He pulls this guy's atma out of his body and shows him the body sitting there. And the guy gets snapped out of his trance, out of his illusion, this hypnotic thing that was done to him by some tyrant 3 million years ago. And old Bob thinks he was a rock the whole time. So he's planted himself on a rock and he's sat there. Now along comes this guy and breaks the spell and says, Bob, now that you know you're not a rock, come on with me. We'll walk into the future. We'll go to that dome city over there and you'll get moving forward again. That's kind of like what the Hue expansion ray in the omnipresent first sound behind creation does with people when they connect with it. Take several deep breaths. When I breathe out, I am deliberately imagining anything that I'm concerned about the future, turned off and put aside in a little computer program on the bed or the desk behind me or in front of me. All negative emotions, all negative imagination, everything you've ever been afraid of, boom, set aside, just for now. Then you imagine someone you love and respect and you're grateful they are in your life because it will open a certain device, doorway in the pineal gland that connects the body to the atma running it in a conscious way. And then it will connect telepathically, that beam of pure light, right into and connect to the omnipresent field of energy underlying and supporting the whole multidimensional creation, all the way back to the source, which is not made of nuclear material. It is energy, but not as it's known on Earth yet. And what will happen is the body will go into the trance state called sleep. The eyes are off, which means the brain's turned off to seeing any physical light. And yet when a person begins to imagine, when I conduct these guided journeys and they see what I'm describing for themselves, ask yourself who or what is seeing it, because the body and brain is not seeing it. The real person is. When you imagine someone you respect and love, you're grateful for they're in your life, it can be a person, place, or thing, but it should make you smile inside. It could be a pet that you're just fond of, anything that makes you kind of go into a loving state for all life. Then I send out this statement, and these words are constructed extremely carefully. And they were constructed by friends of mine, not from this earth, and myself, to do a specific thing. These words are ordered in a specific way to tell this omnipresent field of force, this divine spirit, people call it, how to co-create with us in a way that will liberate us. Here's how it goes. Here's what I send out myself every time. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale. And the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. Later, when you play back the recording of this journey, which Perry will put up on YouTube, you'll begin to understand the value of these words, because associated with each word is a three-dimensional holographic complete understanding of what it is we're telepathically putting into that first sound, the hue. You, first half of the word human, remember? You man, you woman. It sets up frequencies and vibrations that opens doors to other realities. We are not a brain, a body, or the pineal gland. We are a spherical energy being, has a specific structure and shape and faculties. And it is this spherical energy being that was used to pattern round worlds, round moons, and round suns. Galaxies spinning on their axis were done to mirror or represent the way beings are shaped and how they are. And the Atma is much more beautiful and complex than a galaxy, or a planet, or a sun, or a moon. When I begin this journey, I send out tones in successively higher frequencies because this addresses the emotional, mental, and etheric, astral, causal, and mental, and etheric, and physical states of being. And it gets the forms and bodies you're running on these various planes you've been made to forget to all go in the trance state together. So the one spherical being that's running those forms you have can go on this journey as a whole being. The bodies are safe, breathing normally, snoring maybe, but in the trance state we call sleep. These tones will help you to put aside your fears of the future temporarily, of your own true free will, and then you can go explore the universe. I will begin those tones now. This is telepathic. For my part, and from my experience off planet and from other dimensional realities with master teachers and wondrous beings who are friends of mine beyond this earth, I can share with you the difference between utilizing the positive and negative split current, Maya illusion, that runs through the 4 lower dimensions, including the physical planet Earth. It runs like a wave, up and down and up and down, and is completely unreliable. We work with telepathy, which works with the hue expansion ray, the new consciousness moving through the first sound, the primordial, omnipresent first sound, behind and supporting all that exists. We do this because we are comprised out of that energy, but from a much higher level. From a dimension that exists far beyond the void known to certain esoteric groups on planet Earth. This will produce a radiant white light with a golden essence moving through your form, through the Atma from its white core, down and through the body, through the pineal gland, out through your brain, out through the body, and into the world for your benefit and the uplifting benefit of all life. This is how this works. There is no negative emotion or imagination whatsoever in the hue. There is no such thing as a lower dimensional energy, misuse of science, bad ETs, or anything else that can in any way negatively affect or control the hue when a person is in it. You will just have to find this out through your own direct experience. When you imagine anything like, for instance, standing on a beautiful green sandy beach, green sand wiggling between your toes, and it feels cool and comfortable. They're little polished, rounded off little emerald crystals glowing with about a foot of light above the sand, and it's radiating around your feet, and it's moving up your legs with a warm and cooling energy, both at the same time. And you find that you have feet that look like your feet, about 36 years old. I don't care if you're 99 or 10 on this planet. It is best to imagine that you have a form that looks like you about 36. Whatever that means to you. Perfectly healthy, flawless body. And it's able to you're able to experience your feet touching this soothing, warming, cool, emerald green sandy beach. And you can feel this energy moving up your legs that is invigorating. It's like breathing fresh oxygen to a suffocating being. It's like bathing in cool water when you're baking in the sun, dehydrated. It feels like this, and it moves up your torso, up the top of your head, and you look up smiling, and above you, you see a sphere of energy. Maybe make it 4 feet wide. Let's make it large. But this is you. It has a white radiant core like a sun, and around it a layer, a yellow layer, a thickness with little teardrop shaped lights that are luminous. These are higher faculties of being. And then it goes into more of an orange layer, then red, then green, then blue, then lavender, then violet. There's a field of pale golden light surrounding it. And it's hovering there above this physical form, which is made of energy, but it looks physical. Both of these are you. You, the Atma, running a body form made of energy so that it can experience the tactile sensation of rubbing its toes in these wonderful green emerald sand. And you look around you and see that there is this jungle trees, and this half moon shaped, crescent shaped beach extends out around you. We're like back at the back end of it, and then it extends out. And you can see beings hovering above body forms beside you, to each side of you, extending down the beach, putting their toes in this emerald green sand. That is all of you joining us on this journey. This is effortless. People imagine idly all day, called daydreaming, without realizing what it is they are doing. This is actually the being looking off somewhere else to be somewhere wonderful because they're bored with it wherever they are. But it isn't the brain and body and eyes sitting in a chair in a classroom looking out at the parking lot, seeing and dreaming itself on a mountain slope skiing or standing under a waterfall. It's the being running the body that's doing that without realizing it. You can see that we are near the back of this curved beach, looking into the jungle, and there's a brown moss-covered path extending straight through the jungle, straight as an arrow, like a moss-covered roadway. And when you look behind you, you see this blue-green ocean, gentle waves moving up against the green sand. And there's my friend Ambassador Turellian, who is of the Say-Rays human race, not from Earth. And he's standing up in the ocean with the water up to his knees, 18 feet tall. He looks like a Greek god, long golden hair, slightly pointed ears, big, beautiful blue eyes, a little bigger than humans on Earth. And he's just wearing a simple Greek-like gown and just standing there in the water, giving us 2 thumbs up, encouraging us to move forward with the experience. The Say-Rays, the body form you see there, was immortalized by this race over 1 billion years ago out in galactic history. They didn't just make the bodies live forever unaged, no. They dematerialized them on a molecular level and stored them in one of those teardrops, in one of the collar layers of the being. And they work with co-creating with the omnipresent hue. They move and run through the galaxy and up in the universe to create a body instantly when they want to use it to carry out a mission. Solid and real. When they're done, they dematerialize it and just remain how they are, who they are. That is never has been a physical body. You look down the beach to each side. You can see myself standing there in a 36-year-old body with the Atma, me, hovering above it, and Perry, and some people we know, and several hundred people extending down the beach in each direction. And then their bodies suddenly vanish, and you are just spheres of light hovering above the emerald green sand that's glowing. And Turellian moves up his body up above the ocean, dissolves it into his being, and starts moving over the top of the jungle trees. And we move as a line of beings clear across the jungle in the direction a mile inland. And about a mile inland, you can see a circular clearing with a white marble floor about 100 feet across and tall 4-foot-high lavender grass, thick like wheat, surrounding it. Off to the left is a wide seeping blue, sleepy, moving blue-green river. Comes from the single snow-capped mountain we'll see up ahead in a minute. And aligning the embankment on the other side of the lavender grass are these tall, weeping willow-type trees with blue-green, spoon-shaped leaves that are glowing. They're luminous. And we come to this clearing and find that there is a crystal statue of a woman standing on a pedestal 10 feet tall in the exact center of this white marble circular ground. She has her hands out to her sides. She has longer fingers, feminine and beautiful, than human women, because she's 10 feet tall, longer neck, violet eyes. And her hair, long and flowing, looks like silver polished metal, but you can tell it's soft. She has a gold band around her forehead and a teardrop-shaped, faceted emerald stone in it. And it's glowing. And you can tell that this statue is a device, and it's charging that sand we put our feet in with this emerald green light, which was moved up into the white core of our beings and stored in the green layer. Why? Because it has everything to do with recall and remembering. When you look at this woman's elegant dress and in bare feet standing on this square cubical pedestal, she has two big angel wings sticking out behind her back. It's all highly polished, pure quartz. They are not angelic wings. They represent the ability of the spherical Atma running a body like this to fly free in the multiverse as an Atma, without the restrictions of time and space or the speed of light or any other restriction on it whatsoever. And we are hovering in a circle as beings with Turelian around this spherical being hovering above this statue of this woman. And you can see that this spherical being is who she is. When you look inside this statue, right through the clear quartz, perfect. You look through the stone, this teardrop-shaped stone, the band between her eyes, and you can see through it into a huge green atmosphere. And there's this beautiful woman standing in bare feet, hovering in the air in this green atmosphere. And in an instant, there's a flash of light. Turelian and myself and Perry and others are standing in physical forms made of energy that look like you, with the sphere running above it around this woman who's smiling at us. And she raises her right hand in greeting. She doesn't have the wings. She's just this tall woman. And she's telling all of you that she is from a race called the Zientranamus. And then you see her mate, her husband, you might call him, a little taller, appear beside her. Violet eyes, long silver hair, longer neck and hands and fingers, feet, legs. And they are telling you telepathically that they come from a planet called Zientranaman 1 on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. And the statue is an interdimensional doorway. It was brought as a gift to this place, wherever this green sandy beach is, and provided so that beings on this journeys like this could gain benefit from what this device does. They are standing in this green atmosphere, and so are we. And you can, when you breathe through this body, you feel like the green is going right through your body and out the back and right through you when you breathe out, passing right through you. No friction, no resistance whatsoever. And somehow you seem to remember that beings like this are not so alien that you seem somewhere in your past to have known them long ago, before you ever came to Earth. This is a good thing. On other journeys, we've taken you to their home planet, which is 4 times bigger than Earth and has 3 moons circling it, no polar ice caps, oceans and land, domed cities, and 3 suns. A blue-white giant, further out, a yellow star like our sun, and further out, a red dwarf. They all circle around each other, and then these planets circle around them. It's a trinary system. Then you find yourself hovering above this angel statue outside, above the white marble floor with the lavender grass surrounding it, and you look upwards towards the mountain. This brown moss-covered path begins again on the other side of the platform, winds its way through jungle, blue-green forest trees and some grass fields, and it goes up and stops at the base of a huge dome covering a city. It's not a metropolis like New York. There's 3 4-sided, gold-sided, quartz-capped pyramids just behind a big lake in the back of this pyramid, this dome city, and little ivory dome dwellings and little white marble paths. And then up above it, it's sitting at the upper level of this mountain. And on to the right, just to the right of it, is a single snow-capped mountain. 2/3 of the way up the mountain towards the summit is a cavern opening. and an emerald green water, luminous with phosphor, kind of luminous mineral, and it is pouring out of this cavern opening and dropping thousands of feet down a sheer cliff face, where it begins a river that winds its way through a blue-green forest that surrounds the backside of this giant dome city. The front of the dome city has blue discs that are about 4 inches thick, like 30 feet across, and there are 3 Galactic Scout class vehicles, disc-shaped, with 3 semaphoric pods underneath and 3 tripod legs, kind of a cobalt transparent blue top, maybe a little lighter blue than that, and they're just sitting there turned off, landed. Then you look up above this waterfall and see there's another cavern opening, a little higher up, and there are domed lights going way off into the distance, down into the interior of the mountain. That cavern leads to the interior of Mount Shasta in Northern California in the United States. And inside that is an extraterrestrial base established there in 1908. Find yourself now instantly above the planet with Turellian, kind of in the center to keep us focused, and myself beside him. Perry is there. My little cat, Starlight, who's a snowshoe, who's a great out-of-body traveler, has an Atma running that kitty body, and he knows how to go on these journeys. You're going to see Etta that I showed you earlier, this Dren, hovering in the air, in space, a luminous physical form, with his tail out behind him, standing on his hind legs, tail's glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight. And he's smiling at all of us, wiggling his little fingers that look like human hands and fingers. But he's not human. And above him and my little cat is a spherical Atma, just like you. And we are in space, in the void of space, above this world. You don't need to breathe oxygen, there isn't any. You don't feel radiation from the sun, you don't feel cold, you don't feel heat. You're a spherical being made of an energy that is not nuclear. There's no electrons, protons, or atoms in it whatsoever, but it is energy. And when you look out in space from up here, you can see that it isn't black like you see in photographs from NASA, because human eyes can't see into the spectrum. It is a white field of brilliant light with a golden sheen to it, vibrating between what you see as a world and the moon. But this is different than the world you're used to. The Earth has no polar ice caps. It has a huge continent over the center over the equator. And it goes down towards the southern pole. There's a crescent, half-moon-shaped green beach you can see glowing from space, about a third of the way up from the southern pole. No polar ice caps. And it goes up above that equator to a point about a third of the way from the northern pole. And you can see in golden glowing letters appear across this continent, Lemuria or Mu, and then they fade and vanish. You can see through this planet because it is Earth. And on the other side is another continent, 2/3 its size, and you see glowing letters appear on it, Atlantis in the common tongue, or Atla. This is an Earth that exists in the physical universe, 3 parallel time rate dimensions up from the one you're familiar with. Look and see where the moon is now, the same place the moon is that you would see from Earth. But this moon has a complete oxygen atmosphere, no polar ice caps, green and verdant, 5 domed cities on the front. And as it's turning on its axis, because it does, you see 2 big dome cities in the mountainous area appear from the backside, and it's moving around the Earth. We have gone right from the beginning with our feet in the sands of this land. This is a Lemuria that never, ever, this planet never flipped its poles. And it's a protected environment. It is in a parallel dimension. You're actually walking on Earth, and it's around you, but you can't see it because it vibrates at a higher frequency. The Atma, though, the real you, can see it. You can see the sun off in the distance and billions of stars around us in every direction. Now we're going to take a little journey, and Tyrellian's being hovering in the center. The both of us as spheres, there's several hundred beings around us. Perry's here. You see a little flash of green light. And in an instant, we're across the solar system, coming down from up in space, hovering down as a group of beings, looking at a long, mile-long cylindrical shape, smooth, blue-gray metal parent vessel or spaceship from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. Has bridge control rooms on the front and windows on the other side. It has control bridge on each end. And it has oval windows all the way down the perimeter of the hall, just above the midsection, that are horizontal oval windows. They're observation portals. You can see 4 or 5 scout-class ships about 30 feet across with this blue-gray metal, glowing with a pale blue light, as does the big parent vessel, approaching one at a time the central section of the hall. And then they appear to become transparent and then move right through the hall. And you can see an opening through the hall for an instant, and then it appears solid and lands on the ground in a huge hangar bay. The other 4 do the same thing. The hall has no open panels or doorways, no launch bays. Ships go in and out of this vessel by raising their molecular time rate of the electromagnetic field that surrounds their hull. Simple thing, really. You're going to find us, Tyrellian first, followed by me, Perry, even Starlight as a spherical being, and Etta, who's a Dren. You know who he is now. And we're going to move right through the hall effortlessly, more directly than a ship can. We're simply going to pass right through the interior of the hall and come to stop above a long oval chamber just forward of the central section of the ship. And we are looking out all these oval windows that look out into the ice rings of Saturn, big chunks of ice that make up this 1.5 miles or so thickness of the ice rings that circle the big gas giant. And you can see the beauty of space and the big planet whirling its atmosphere at high speed in counterclockwise directions. Many moons moving around the planet. You are looking out of the windows in a kind of a social meeting area. And there are blue glass top tables and little egg-shaped white chairs with blue cushions and several people sitting in them, and several hundred of the ship's crew standing around to greet us. They are not unconscious. You see their physical forms, men and women from different worlds, different kinds of skin colors, blue and even green, different eyes, red and violet and green and gold, brown, even black. And you can see they have different types of hair, different heights. They are from many worlds that make up the staff on this ship, highly trained. These beings on their home worlds, when they are 10 years of age, have the equivalency in training of someone. They have 10 PhDs compared to a child on Earth, 10 years old, or even to an adult, because they don't have subconscious minds and they aren't driven from fear. They did not grow up on Earth. They can see us, and you can see spheres, atmas hovering above the forms right in this central lounge area. It's many feet tall, and Tyrellian can easily fit inside it. You can see his physical form appear. He's still got his 2 thumbs up, man of few words. There's still a big sphere atma hovering behind him. And these 2 people, this couple, gets up from these 2 egg-shaped chairs and a table near us and stand. They are a little over 6 feet tall, appear to be about 38, 36 to 40, somewhere in there. And they are human. They are not from Earth, and they are the commanders, the co-commanders of this ship. And they simply tell all of you that you are welcome. And you're going to begin to find that you have a physical form standing on that plush blue carpet that is made of energy. And you can talk with the physical beings that are on the ship. And when you look up, you can see the spheres, the real them, hovering above the physical forms. And they can see both your energetic form and the Atma hovering above that form. And they begin to converse with you. And some of them will feel familiar to you somehow. Everyone on this journey will find a couple there. Usually a man and a woman together, but sometimes separate. They will approach you and introduce themselves. And somewhere in the back of your consciousness, you will swear you know who they are. And if you ask them, they can provide assistance to you when you are out of your body in the trance state called sleep. Your body's in that state, and you're out of it every night on planet Earth, but with little or no memory of who you are, how you got to be on that planet. And they will help you when you're a true being, a spherical being, with a fear left behind, turned off, to uncover this tight knot of unconsciousness, which means you'll begin to wake up in the morning with a changed and more expanded awareness. They will only assist you if you request it. You are aboard a mile-long intermediate range Galactic Alliance spacecraft called an Emerald Star Cruiser. There are ships of this size over 10 miles in length. These are designed to travel clear across the galaxy into other galaxies, even into higher parallel dimensions of the physical universe. There are 144 parallel dimensions in the physical universe. And then you cross a barrier into what people call the astral plane, the next major division where all energies move through emotion. And there are 144 parallel dimensions in it, and so forth, up to the causal, causation, cause and effect, up to the mental, everything moved by thought, to the etheric, a thin region just before you reach what people on Earth refer to as the void. Bodies that are almost transparent, crystal-like. People can live there millions of years and have little motivation to go across the void into the upper realms from whence they came, to complete their journey to become a co-creator with the source itself. If you've ever wondered what your true purpose is as an Atma, as a being, not a body, it is to be a fully conscious, well-trained, confident co-creator with the source behind all life. Not a co-slave, not a worshiper. You respect the source, each other, and all life in the grand multidimensional creation. Doing that leads to freedom, and the freedom to play in it, to co-create in it new and wondrous things that will be a benefit for all that exists. That is the true destiny and purpose of one single individual Atma, human man, human woman. The Atmas take on the characteristics by choice of feminine or masculine in their long journeys through time and space. The Atma is the Atma. Find yourself now hovering above this ship in space, above the ice rings of Saturn. You can see the ship down there, the big gas giant, all its moons. And then you see yourself moving at tremendous speed upward. And you begin to see the entire Milky Way galaxy shrink to a point and vanish. And then millions of galaxies all around shrink to a point and vanish. And the next instance, you start moving into a blue radiant atmosphere. This is a direct projection technique to take us all above the void into the first higher realm above that void, which is the demarcation plane for the Atma as energy before it started taking on and running physical forms in the lower dimensions. And you can see that we've moved to a plane above the fifth, between the fifth and sixth, into a blue atmosphere. You look down and you can see a garden paradise surrounding a fountain made of white alabaster. And there's a 100-foot wide marble floor below it. In the fountain is the statue of a man standing in bare feet with a white tunic dress from his waist down to his ankles, 2 golden bands on his upper arms, bronzed of skin, about 36, ageless. Looks like he might be from India, but he is not. And you look over to a path over to the edge of this white marble floor, and you see the actual man standing there smiling at us. Off in the distance, you see botanical paradise and crystal-like palace lining the bottom of the base of a long snow-capped mountain range. This is the fifth reality, above the etheric, beyond the void. The energy here is pure positive. There is no negative and positive. There is no cause and effect. Nothing of any negative nature ever existed here. And the consciousness here is changing dramatically. When you look at the fountain of this statue of this being, it dissolves and becomes a shaft of white light with a golden essence running through it, filling this bowl and the sculpted white alabaster edges, pouring like an even glistening, luminous sheet of white light with a golden essence. Looks like water, but is energy. And all of us are going to move right inside that fountain, right into the beam, and hover at different levels in it. Torelli, myself, Perry, my little cat, the Dren, Etta, several hundred people on this trip. And you're going to let it wash through you. Remember, this energy comes from a much further higher dimension. And it is the hue expansion ray itself in this omnipresent beam of light. And it's moving through the white core of our beings because that white core is comprised of exactly the same energy, identical. This beam comes from a source very much further away, higher up than here. Now we will go there on another journey. And you suddenly find yourself zipping at high speed straight down that beam, right through the bottom of this fountain, through this pale blue void that seems to have nothing in it. And then you see the etheric plane, which looks almost crystalline, thousands of continents, luminous and glowing, on an expansive ocean world. And then you're down through the mental, causal, astral, and then you find yourself hovering in space, once again, around Terrellian, above planet Earth, that has no polar ice caps, with a living, live, oxygen-filled moon, which is a prototype. That continent of Lemuria and that planet never shifted its poles. And it is the beings that work in that dome city there, and ones from the Galactic Alliance, the Serays, and what are called the mechanics of creation, called silent mentors, that have made it possible to utilize this place as a prototype to change the way the Earth and the Moon are, from a dead, barren moon to a live one. That will take the participation of all life on Earth as it's transformed. Then you see the Earth suddenly shimmer like a heat wave in the desert. And there's the planet you're familiar with, polar ice caps, and the moon with all of its meteor craters, no atmosphere, does not turn on its axis, always shows us the same face as it revolves around the planet. And then you find yourself hovering in the atmosphere, maybe at 1,000 feet above where you live. And you can see Terrellian and myself and Perry there at the same time, wherever you are on Earth. And then we vanish, and you find yourself as a spherical being of energy, hovering above the physical form, looking down on it with kindness from about the ceiling. And you allow the memory of this journey to be transported into the pineal gland, stored in the brain, and moved gently through the skull, out through the body, like the fountain beam itself. It flows through the top of your head, comes through you for your benefit, and goes through you by your own co-creative free will to continue its journey for the benefit of all life. And then, when you're ready, open your eyes.
Okay.
Today we went where you requested, Perry, to go to that Emerald Star Cruiser. It's permanently stationed in our solar system. It cannot be approached or penetrated or boarded by secret space program or anything from Earth. It's not concerned or worried about what they do or don't do. It's here for the benefit and survival of our planet, and it's stationed there permanently for now. The scout ships that leave it go on missions, and the beings that are on those, usually four couples, men and women, are highly trained, very experienced at removing subconscious terror from beings on Earth, when those beings are awake enough to give them permission to help them. Very important. Okay, any questions?
No, thank you. Nice experience as always. People can go on journeys, Scott, even the same video many times, not only one time.
Right, and there are many. We've gone many places. Sometimes the journeys are similar. Why? It does not benefit people on Earth to have great experiences about billions of planets and all the different dimensions until it boggles their mind here. It's better they have grounded experiences in different locales that are done in it for a specific purpose, why we go where we go, to help people be grounded off-world as beings, to remember how to think and imagine on an interdimensional and galactic level while they're living their lives on Earth. The process produces a more balanced life as it unfolds, not what people may think. You don't get all scattered and spaced out. It actually makes you more balanced. You're going to find, as I have and you have as well, fear of the future begins to wither and drop away. This is a good thing. So I will stop that recording and wish everybody pleasant dreams. Until next time, perhaps next week we can go to some new locations.
Yes, we're waiting for that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but people need to first grasp what they've already been given and get some confidence with it. So when this is recorded and put on YouTube, they can play it again. I would recommend that they do it when they're going to find a couple hours where they won't be disturbed, put on some headphones, go on the imagination, utilize your own co-creative imagination with it again. And the people who do this will find they will see much more depth and knowing detail the second time around.
Yeah, Scott, I'd like to add more from my experience. Okay, when we go on journey, not only you feel uplifting energy, also, I mean, it depends on your time. You will experience what we call awaken of knowing something. Scott, just keep coming, and then you know. I can't explain how it is like.
It is hard to explain to someone what direct
Yeah.
knowing is because they always think in terms of faith or belief, which is backed by fear, doubt, and terror. It's still negative. Faith is belief, but not the experience it's supposed to lead to. What we want to do is provide people in any faith or any walk of life the experience that brings life and vitality into their belief because they begin to know and have direct experience. That's the difference. And it's huge. Good night then, Perry, and I'll stop the recording so it comes to an end finally.
Thank you.
Yeah, they have an energy of their own. People
Yeah.
that go on the journeys, by the way, Perry, help to co-create where we go and how far we go. Remember that.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.